The Bodan voyagers collected tens of thousands of specimens. They collected pretty much all of the new and unusual things they could find. They were also very interested in things that might become new products or new plants that could be grown back at home. Collecting specimens hasn't changed a lot in many ways since the 1700s, which means you collect a piece of a plant, you cut it off and you basically dry it flat. The challenge would have been keeping it flat and dry in really primitive conditions and stopping animals and insects from eating it, which they did in some creative ways. They kept them away from the critters by putting them near to the ovens they baked the bread in, and also they may have put them in barrels that have been emptied out from drinking all their spirits, their rum, or other storage vessels that kept them away from particularly the rats and the mice. Seeds would have been collected and perhaps stored in salt or in something to keep them dry, stopping them from rotting. Live plants would have been placed in pressed tin pots or trays to keep them alive and for them to move around even with bad weather. Fresh water would have been difficult and a problem. That would have taken a lot of time, a lot of tending. They would have lost a lot of plants as well. Many Australian plants don't like to be transplanted. Virtually all of the specimens would have gone back to the Natural History Museum in Paris and passed through the Paris Herbarium. However, now those specimens are in more than a dozen herbaria around the world. Common practice back then was to take live material back and grow it and then make illustrations of that. When material's taken and cultivated away from its natural environment, it often changes its general form, its characters. Some species of Australian plant look completely different when they're grown in a wetter or a cooler environment. Some of the pricklier things become less prickly, for example, and so you lose some of the harshness of the characters that they would have seen in the Australian environment. There were quite a few botanical illustrations made, particularly of material that deteriorates quickly. Many flower parts, as they dry up, shrivel. Things like lilies, the petals shrink really quickly. So they would have been illustrated as they came in from the field and under instruction from the naturalists. And it must have been really hard because the lighting would have been terrible at night using candles. But some of those botanical illustrations are excellent quality.